into New York. Yo, into New York. Yo, into New York. To New York, to New York. Put the yo into New York. Yo, into New York. Yo, into New York. To New York, to New York.
And welcome to Crash Chords Autographs. In revisiting Nerdcore, Matt pays a personal visit with one of its legends, MC Lars, for this rare face-to-face interview held in a tour van following Lars's concert with MC Chris and Spose. Amidst promotions, origins, and talk of an upcoming album, Matt prods into Lars's songwriting process and the work that goes into deciding upon samples. Along with some comments on the YouTube generation and some pointed advice for rising artists, here's presenting Matt Storm and MC Lars.
So I'm sitting here with the man, the myth, the legend, MC Lars.
Well, we're in the van. We just played a show, and I'm very pleased to hang out with you. Thank you for waiting as we lifted all the gear out.
Oh, it was my pleasure. Thank you for putting on an awesome show. It's a pleasure to have you on my show. I've heard a lot about you. I've talked to a lot of other nerdcore rappers, and your name kind of always comes up as like one of the nerdcore rappers. You and Damien kind of come up all the time. Were you, I know you said you started out in punk bands. Were you always into hip-hop also, or did you kind of discover that after?
You know, I had a very interesting relationship with hip-hop because, like, I remember when I was 11, my friend let me borrow the Snoop Dogg tape, and my mom heard it, and she was like, you can't listen to this. So it was like the skit at the beginning, we're in the bathtub, and she's like, you don't love me, you just love my doggy style. And I'm like, Mom, I love it for the music. She's like, you're 11. So she did something which is known as good parenting, and wouldn't let me listen to it. So I kind of got, hip-hop was this forbidden fruit. And then I went to college, and it was like I was doing punk rock stuff, but it just didn't get the same reaction. Like, I'd book college shows, and I'd play with my punk band, and then I'd do my rap stuff, and that people liked. And so it was like, oh, there's something to it. And that was like 2003, and then that was like the year, like, Atmosphere and all those guys, Sage Francis, everything, the emo indie rap became big. So I was like, there's something to it. So I coined the term, okay, well, if they're doing emo rap, I can do post-punk rap with my laptop. And here we are. And then I managed to turn into a career.
A very successful one. But I mean, listening to your music, especially taking your greatest hits as an album by itself, you're definitely influenced by a ton of other music. I remember you saying on stage tonight that you were taken on tour with Bowling for Soup, which would explain how you hooked up with Jared Reddick to download this song. Did you always want to do a song within Iggy Pop kind of background, use the Passenger as a sample, or is it just something that kind of came together for that song?
Dude, that's a really good question, and it's a good story. We were, 2005, I was in Australia, and I toured with this punk band from Epitaph from Oakland called The Matches, and we had our last show in Sydney, and there was an after party, and we were partying, and we were drinking, and my friend who helped run the label was DJing, and it was at this club, and that song came on. I'd never heard it, and I was like, these chords are crazy. Like, what is this? And that melody hit, and I was like, I got to do something with this. And I'm like, what is this song? And I always do it on my phone. I'm always writing down songs I want to sample. And I think if you're like, whenever you're drunk in another country and you hear a great song for the first time, there's something magical about that. That also happened when I was, for my song, Hey There Ophelia.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And that song, Screamager by Therapy, it was like at a London club. So anyway, so I was there, I was like, what is this? And I didn't realize it was an old song. But then he's like, I heard it, and it sounded like some new indie track, and I was like, I gotta sample this. So I wrote it down, and that would have been June of 2005, and then I wrote that song in November of that year. So, but there's a different version of it that was more like hip-hop, traditional hip-hop.
Sure.
But when we sampled it, Iggy's label didn't want us to use it because he said it was a bad message. They said it was a bad message, and so Iggy heard it though, and he said, "This is cool. This is progressive. Awesome. That he can use it." So we gave him an advance on the publishing and royalties, and then we got to use it. So shout out to Iggy Pop.
That's awesome. That's very cool that you get that kind of connection with another artist, and they actually like respect what you do, even though like the management, the suits are like, no, it's bad. It's a bad message.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's like artists. Those people exist so people like Iggy Pop can do what he does, but it is hard. He's like a rebel.
Yeah.
Hey, do you want water?
No, I'm good.
Okay, we got a bunch.
But you feel free if you want.
Cool.
So you always have all of these other influences, and you've done a bunch of featured songs. You've also been featured on other albums. I've been listening to Beefy's latest record. You were featured on that. Of course, I discovered you through Schaefer's Records and Frontalot's Records. When you hook up with another artist to do a featured verse, do they come to you? Do you go to them? Is it kind of collaborative? Does it change based on the track?
That's a great question. I mean, in the nerdcore scene, we all are like one big weird nerdy Wu-Tang, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We all work on each other's tracks, and yeah, people come to me and ask me for collabs. If it's a friend or if it's someone I've worked with, usually we'll trade collabs. Like, we all do stuff on each other's records. But if it's a new artist, I usually just ask that they cover the studio time, and then I let them keep the tracks. But I would never charge, like, otherwise for it, especially with friends.
Sure.
So it's just like, if the spirit's right and I'm inspired, I'll just do it. And that's a lot of the time we do it online. I'm sure people like you talk about that. Like, we do, like, with Beefy.
It's crazy. Yeah, that you can do that.
Yeah, it's crazy because, like, 10 years ago it would have been hard to do. Well, 20 years ago it would have been kind of impossible.
Yeah.
To, like, Skype. And so, yeah, man, it's really easy. And the thing is, it's so easy to make great sounding records, and I think there's no excuse for bad sounding music because we all have access to incredible equipment.
Yeah.
It's very inexpensive.
Well, it's like we were talking about Malibu Shark Attack earlier, which you're also featured on, and like their record, like one guy's in Ireland and one guy's in Atlanta, Georgia, and the fact that they made that killer record over the internet is kind of mind blowing. And I think that speaks to what you're talking about. Like this new technology allows you to kind of do really crazy stuff.
It's a really exciting time. I mean, I think if I'd started any earlier, any later, I wouldn't have been able to make this into a job. Because I think any later, I would have been inundated with all, like, the third and second generation nerdy indie rappers. If I'd been any earlier, no one would have heard me because I wouldn't have had any internet distribution.
Right.
So I'm thankful. I hit it just at the right time.
And you mentioned on stage that you're putting out a new record next year.
Yes, sir.
So does the new record have a title?
It's called the Zombie Dinosaur LP. And it's going to be, I think, 12 or 13 songs. They're all basically demoed. So as soon as I finish this tour, I'm going to finish the record. And I've got a song with Watsky. I've got a song with Less Than Jake.
Oh,
the guys
nice.
from Less Than Jake.
That's really cool.
I Fight Dragons.
Oh, nice.
So it's just cool because it's all my friends, and it's more of a funnier, like, it's a funny pop culture record, and I haven't done one of those for like 5 years.
Cool. That's awesome. And so you're looking to put it out sometime around March, is looking?
Yeah, spring.
Spring. Yeah. Let's not hone in a date too tightly, so you can have that leeway just in case. Well, that's exciting. It's cool that you've got some new stuff coming out on the horizon. So we were talking earlier that you were into the punk scene, and then you kind of went to rap from there. Do you have any desire to go back to the punk scene? I know you've done songs in a punk style or featured artists from punk songs. Do you have any desire to go back to playing in a band and doing punk tracks or any kind of rock tracks?
That's a good question. I mean, I've been touring this tour with the idea of doing a rock or a punk or a rock EP or album. I think that would be tight.
That would be cool.
I mean, yeah, I mean, I think that would be cool, and I think that it's like, it's just something where it's like the energy is there. I mean, I think like that's the thing that's kind of helped me is that I'll do a straight up ska song with an actual ska band. I'll do a actual thrash song where it's like the other rappers don't really, when they don't really delve into rock. They might have a guitar on a song, but they won't do like a full-on rock song.
Right.
And I think the reason I did that is because growing up listening to Weird Al, I love how
Yeah.
he would do a million genres, and he'd do them all so well.
Yeah.
It's like, if you're going to do ska, well, get the best ska band you can. If you're going to do a hardcore song, you know what I'm saying? So I'd love to do it because I'd love to push myself musically. Sure. And it's very inspiring.
That's awesome. And I think like it's one of those things where when you say on the record that you feature your childhood hero playing accordion, Weird Al, that must have been something pretty awesome to have him playing on a track. I feel like everyone in the nerdcore scene has had some kind of influence from him because he's just done so much ridiculous stuff over the years.
I think, yeah, he made it like he's the original nerd who sold millions of albums, and he showed us that it's okay. You know what I like about him is his intellect. Like, he's silly and goofy, but he's just smart as hell. And it's like, he's just this. He said to me that like when he was in high school and stuff, girls never really looked at him. But then as soon as he got on TV and stuff, everyone was like wanting to be wanting to be his best friend, and he was instantly really popular. And he's like, there's just something about nerdy music that is special. You know what I mean? And he proved that could be done, and I think that we all owe him a debt. I mean, he's like, White and Nerdy is the nerdcore anthem. No one can ever top that. For sales and quality, we all want to make a song like that, but we never will. So let's just bow down to the great Weird Al.
Sounds like a plan. So you've been on tour for a while, and this New York date was actually the second to last date on the tour, and then you headed home. When you're on tour, what do you do to keep from going crazy in the long van trips? Do you have books you like to read, certain music you like to listen to, movies you watch?
I mean, I'm so happy that this van has a auxiliary in, and we have Spotify Premium. They hooked us up with that. So John and I will my drummer John and I will be like, okay, we'll play a country song, then we'll play all of our favorite country songs for like an hour.
Nice.
And then we'll play a thrash song and all our thrash songs, or we'll play. Last night we were listening to like all of Adam Sandler's skits.
Nice.
And like, so music keeps us going. It's hard to read in the van, and we all do as soon as you touch down the venue, there's not really a second of rest. But at night I like to watch The Simpsons when I go to sleep. I downloaded every Simpsons on my computer. So
oh wow, all of the seasons?
Yeah.
That's
like
crazy.
50 gigs.
Have you seen the Futurama crossover episode yet?
Is it out?
Yeah, it's out. It's on Hulu. I watched it on Hulu Plus.
Is it good?
It wasn't bad, actually. I haven't watched Simpsons in a while. I've kind of been behind, but that crossover episode was good. It's based mostly around Bender and Homer becoming best friends.
Yeah.
And then the plot goes from there, and it was a lot of fun. And it's the whole someone went back to the past to save the future storyline. So that's always fun.
That's great. I got to see that.
Yeah.
Did you see the Family Guy Simpsons one?
I did. I didn't love it. What did you think of it?
I thought it was pretty funny. I thought it was well drawn, and I thought the art was great. But is the Futurama one better, you would say?
I think so, yeah. I think I enjoyed the Futurama better. But also that's because I'm a big Futurama fan. I have a Bender head with all of the seasons before the new seasons inside it. It's just this giant,
cool.
Bender head. So I'm really into that. But and so I'm guessing when you're on tour, you guys touch down at certain places. Do you often stay overnight in the city, or are you driving at night often? Does it depend on where you're headed?
Yeah, man. I mean, this tour's been kind of punk rock because we've done this thing where we probably wouldn't do it next tour, where you leave the town, you drive. We had a third guy who went home that's a long story, but you drive like 4 hours, then we find a Walmart parking lot in the middle of like nowhere, and just tilt the seat back, and then Brendan made a bed out of the back with all the hoodies, and just sleep in the van. And we did that maybe 7 times, but then it got really cold, so usually we stay with friends or we'll get a hotel. It's nice if you get a hotel too. You could go to the hotel before the venue, so you can put all your suitcases there and get ready, then go to the show. So so we'd either sleep in the van at Walmart, stay with friends, or park, or get a hotel. Tonight, John is from Jersey, so his parents are nice enough to let us stay in Short Hills. So
very cool.
That's the plan. So
awesome.
It's the trick is it's very easy to get sick, and we've learned that if you don't want to get sick, what you do is try to sleep, try to eat right, and you can't really party. You can't really drink that much because 40 shows, you'll kill yourself. I learned that earlier, that touring is not like in the movies.
Where you drink and get wrecked every night. You can't really do that.
You can't, but, you can still have fun a little bit.
So you've been playing a lot of live shows, and you've got a lot of songs and a large library of music. Do you have a selection of a few favorite tracks that are like your favorite to perform live because of the sound or the energy?
That's a good question. I love the literature songs. I mean, I think it's cool because kids, like, it's fun. It's so weird to do like a Shakespeare rap and just see this like light in kids' face, Raven is always my favorite because we always get someone from the audience to do it. And the ska song's fun because the skankers. Yeah. It's just cool to see people. People don't really see that much these days.
Yeah, it's a shame that ska's kind of not around as much as it was. There aren't any major, there weren't a ton of major pop culture bands to begin with, but the fact that like now you don't really hear it that much is a bummer.
I think, you know what, we were talking about this tonight, that Napster killed ska because after labels didn't have any more money, you couldn't afford to send 10 people on tour in a bus. That's true. So then after that, you had to just ska existed, like Real Big Fish and all them existed on the major label system because labels could afford to send out these giant horn sections.
Yeah. It's funny too because growing up in Staten Island, I remember there were tons of ska bands in Staten Island growing up, and like they played local venues, and like I saw them all the time. And then like somewhere around the early to mid '90s, it just stopped. Like I stopped seeing them anywhere. And then by the 2000s, there were like it felt like there were none anymore. It was kind of a bummer because I mean any genre where you can dance and kind of rock out is kind of like I love that, you know.
I do too, and I love that it's like the anti-emo genre.
Yeah.
It's so fun, and songs are so silly, but, you know, we do Warped Tour a lot, and that, ska is always a very big genre on that tour.
Oh,
Those
that's cool.
bands play the main stage, like Less Than Jake and Really Fish, and
Sure.
so it's on the underground. I don't know if he'll ever come back, because I think that, like, people want their rock serious, their hip-hop stupid, and their EDM, like, drug-infused.
Yeah.
So
People are kind of drifting towards very specific stereotypes, which is kind of a bummer.
yeah, but thank goodness for all the undergrounds. Thank goodness for genre-specific podcasts.
Thanks for the plug.
You're
Hey-o.
welcome.
Let's see. So what else did I want to ask? I just had a brain fart. That's unfortunate. So you guys are wrapping up the tour, and then you said you're going back and going to put together the album to have it out by spring of next year. Do you think you'll have it out on another tour right after the album comes out, or you take a break for a while?
We might be doing something like I want to do a fall headline tour, and then we might have something before that we're waiting here about. But every spring I go to the UK and Europe.
Oh, cool.
And do like festivals. So yeah, so it'll be. Next month will probably be on tour like 5 months of the year.
Oh, wow.
So this last few years I really haven't been touring so much because I've been working on the album, but I'm so glad Chris brought me out, because I think together it's just nothing like it. It's like the nexus of the genre. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and you guys are a great team. Like when you guys do the song together in your set on stage, it's like it just gets an energy.
Thanks.
And and people just go bonkers for that stuff. Since you've obviously been doing a lot of writing and working on the record, when you're writing, does the beat come together usually first, or you usually come up with the lyrics and then kind of create a beat behind it, or does it vary from song to song?
My process is I always want to have like the concept, make sure the concept's dope. So it's like being an English major helped me with this, because your chorus, your concept is your thesis, right?
Right.
And your verses are like your defending paragraph. So it's like you want to say something important. So you come up with the idea. Then I find the music, which informs how the vibe of the lyrics are going to be and stuff like that. And then the beat is what defines the flow, because I learned this a few years ago, that you have to like make your flow, whether you're doing trochees or iams or whatever, spondies or whatever, you have to do your poetry based on what the snare and kick are doing.
Right.
And I think if you try to write without the beat, you end up sounding like every rap is like bum ba ba bum ba ba bum 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 da da dun da da dun dun cat. Like that's a really good way to sound whack. So I started. So that's my style now. I'll just put on a beat. My process is I'll put on a beat for like an hour or two and just write. And then I'll come back, and I try to, when I'm working on an album, I try to hit the clock and be like actually doing 8 to 10 hours a day of focused writing.
Oh, wow.
And then you come back and listen to it. And so this album's kind of, it's been fun, because I've like 35 songs I've demoed. So now I picked the best 12. So I think my process is different, because I'm really involved with the production element. And of course I always like to collaborate with people, but I'm always building the beats, and knowing how to do that lets you like experiment with mood and key changes and samples. And I think that if I didn't know how to do the beat side of things, it would be a really detriment to my lyrical writing.
Okay.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, totally.
So, and it's all very easy now, and it's all very like accessible.
So all of these songs that you've demoed, since you have a ton of them, do you think they'll see the light of day in future albums, or is it just you'll pick the best 12 or 13 and then the rest will go into the vault?
I think they'll evolve into something else.
Yeah.
It's exciting that I'm learning as you get older. Like I think if you're on a major label and you're a major label band and you have to sing, like let's say you have to sing about girls or cars, that gets boring. But if you're niche-y, there's never, and if you always want to write, there's never an absence of ideas.
Sure.
So there's always a lot to. Oh yeah, there's always a lot. There's always more to write about.
That's
so
cool.
yes, those songs will come out in some form. If not as lyrical ideas, musical ideas.
Cool. And so you said that you usually start with a concept. So whether it's like you're rapping about Game of Thrones or rapping about Edgar Allan Poe, you come up with like the concept, the hard concept first, and then go from there.
Yeah.
Have you ever found a concept that you thought of but have yet to be able to actually write about yet? Is there stuff that you like struggle to come up with a concept, like a flow for after coming up with the concept?
I think the main issue that like this genre runs into is if you're too cerebral, you're going to be really hard to listen to after a few minutes.
Yeah.
And so you can't just be like putting vocabulary words and science words and Magic the Gathering and all this stuff like because it's just you have to relate it. Like my whole thing has always been like, okay, you can sprinkle the nerdy stuff, but make sure that like if an average teenage girl heard this in the car or saw the YouTube video, in 10 seconds they'd get the emotion behind it.
Right.
So yeah, like I wanted to do a song about Siddhartha and Buddhism, but it was like too like about his life, and it was too hard to like make that interesting like to the average pop culture person. So I then did a song about impermanence and like witnessing stuff like earthquakes and stuff as a kid and how that's scary, but how that makes you like an adult.
Oh wow!
So
cool.
it's like I twisted it, you know.
Yeah, gave it a spin so it's more something you can manage than people could relate to.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And so it sounds like your writing process is definitely a lengthy one since you put in a lot of hours for it. But it sounds like it provides you with a good backbone for future work and kind of lays the groundwork for a tight record.
Thank you, man. I mean, I think I'm really grateful for its app called Evernote. Have you heard of that?
Yeah, sure.
It's great because I have folders and folders and folders and folders and like I'm working on also right now we're working on a pilot for a kids hip hop show.
Oh, cool.
And so that is a whole nother million folders. So if something is like I'll take the music for something, if it doesn't fit for the album, I could make this about dinosaurs, happy dinosaurs instead of zombie dinosaurs.
There you go.
You know what I mean?
And so this kids show, is this something that you would want to try and market to a network or maybe YouTube?
Yeah, I mean, I think the sky's the limit. Like I think it's cool that there's so many different potential outlets, but we've been working on it for about 5 years and we have some interest. Like Weird Al, he likes the script and he said he'd be in the pilot, which is cool.
That's awesome. That's cool.
KRS-One, who's a big influence on me, he's interested. So we have some great people who would be down to do it. Now it's just a matter of getting the funding, and we'd love to get it on Nickelodeon or something like that. But so that's probably something that next year we'll know more what's going on with it. But we built a puppet for it, and if you go to mclars.tv, there's a video we did, like a proof of concept.
Oh, cool. That's awesome. So, yeah, go check that out, guys. That's awesome. Yeah, I feel you got to figure, like, if the Wiggles can do it and all those other shows, why can't there be a hip-hop version of that stuff, right?
Thanks, man. Yeah, I think so. I think it's definitely, like, Yo Gabba Gabba is great, but it's not strictly hip-hop.
No, yeah, it's a little of everything. They kind of go all over the place. If you had to pick, and this is always a tough question to answer, I find when I ask artists, but I always like to try. If you had to pick one record that kind of is like your biggest influence or your favorite record of all time by another musician, do you have any idea what that would be? Could you pick just one record that was your biggest influence coming up?
I think Miles Davis' Kind of Blue is would be my choice.
Yeah.
Because I used to play jazz guitar in high school before I started doing punk, and learning about modes and chords and like how the 1-3-5, the chord structure and polyrhythms and scales, like that taught me, studying the notes on that album and how you can so easily change the feeling of something by just changing a certain part of the scale. Mm-hmm. That album taught me about that and taught me how to manifest emotion through your playing and through your musicality. So yeah, that's my favorite record of all time. And it's not, and I did a song on my Christmas EP from a few years ago where we sampled him. But I love jazz. And hip hop is really just, true hip hop is just an offshoot of that tree.
Sure, yeah.
It's just a part of that tree. And I think people need to they don't need to. I don't think like shoving stuff down people's throats, but I think understanding jazz makes you understand music and makes you realize that it's so easy to create if you get the theory behind it,
Yeah, totally. If there was one MC Lars fact that the audience wouldn't know already from online and from your records, what would that be? What would be something interesting your fans would be surprised to know about you?
Oh, I don't think most people know my real name's Andrew. Wikipedia reveals that quickly.
Yeah.
But people are always like, what? So Lars comes. A lot of people don't realize this. Lars comes from a 1996 Ben Stiller movie called Heavyweights. Have you heard of
sure,
it?
I remember Heavyweights. Yeah.
So there's that counselor Lars. Do it to it, Lars, the German counselor who's like scary and he DJs the party.
Oh, okay.
So I was like, oh, Lars, and I thought that name was so ridiculous. I was like 12, and so I was like, at school, I asked everyone to start calling me Lars, my teachers. I thought it'd be the biggest hack, the biggest prank to make that my new name. And so now most people know me as Lars.
Lars, call you MC Lars.
So there you go.
Cool. And then finally wrapping up, if you could give up-and-coming musicians, artists, performers, any big, strong piece of advice that you've learned over the years, what would that be?
I think the 4 things you need to succeed, and I think Watsky's definitely done this, and all the new rappers and all Mac Lethal, the 4 things you need to succeed are great records, an interesting story, like what's this person from, why did they get into music, an incredible live show, figure out a way to make your presentation great and learn how to be a great performer, and you only learn to do that from doing open mics for years and playing for years and years and years, and dope YouTube videos that you can do for cheap, and sometimes a better concept is better than a high budget video.
Yeah.
So if you have those 4 things and you really work hard and find a way to do it and start when you're like as young as possible, then you'll have a pretty good shot. If you have talent, you have a pretty good shot of making a name for yourself. And I think the internet is so cool because it's democratized everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting how kind of YouTube has become this force in gaining people notoriety. So many musicians that I've discovered recently have come out of nowhere through YouTube. It really seems like that's the place to go if you really want to make a name for yourself in any industry. You have to,
and YouTube, and it's so easy to make great videos.
Yeah.
So just do it. I mean, I think so many rappers are like, oh, well, I'm waiting till the time is right. Well, when will that time be? Like, get something great on for now. So when I Google Nerdy Jeff, I see Nerdy Jeff. Oh, he's Nerdy Jeff because he likes Super Mario Brothers and he has Pokemon shoes. Cool. But he also can rap, and he also is sad that his cat died and his mom was like controlling of him. Yeah. But he worked hard in college.
I like this narrative you've created for Nerdy Jeff. I feel like he should be a character on your children's show. Have Nerdy Jeff come out and just sing a rap song for the kids. I truly appreciate you taking the time to chat with me.
Thank you for waiting. Thanks for helping us load this stuff in.
My pleasure. It's been a pleasure to meet you in person. I've been a fan of your work for a while.
Give me a hug.
We're hugging. You can't see it because it's an audio podcast. I have one other request. So we have a saying on the podcast, and I would love if you could do our sign up for it. It's music is life and life is good.
Oh, that's right. What's up? This is MC Lars saying music is life and life is good.
If you enjoyed these interviews, please subscribe to this and the Crash Chords podcast on iTunes, where you can also rate us and review us. You can also like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter at Crash Chords Web, our Tumblr, and our YouTube channel. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to post in the comment area below each post. And keep the discussion going, because remember, music is life, and life is good.